Chris, the 2023 season, we're going to start previewing it. We're turning the page from 2022. We've done a lot of talking about the past season. We've had some fun discussions that were not necessarily from last season or this upcoming season. But June is almost here. We're going to start previewing the Big Ten, our opponents, what to look for in this team this upcoming year. And the first position we want to talk about tonight in the Big Ten is the quarterbacks. Now, Chris, the quarterback play in the Big Ten over the past several years been pretty doggone good.
Don't look for
20,
that, Eric.
2023 might be a little bit of a different story, I'm guessing
Yeah.
here from the research I've done. So, Chris, here's how we're going to do this tonight. I'm going to let you do your top 10. We'll go from 10 down to 1. I didn't make a top 10 list. I kind of have it in my head. I'm here to argue with you tonight, see if there's anything we can disagree on. You and I are pretty in step with one another when we do these lists. So I've purposely not done one tonight. That way, tonight maybe we can have a little bit better of a discussion. So, all right, Chris, start with number 10. Let's work our way down and let's see where any, if any, or how many Ohio State quarterbacks make your top 10 list.
Well, I'll tell you, Eric, I don't know how many fans I'm going to have after tonight, but let's dive into the train wreck that is the Big Ten quarterbacks here. So we're just going to do the top 10 of these folks, and we are going to start, I think, number 10 with Brendan Sullivan, a kid from Northwestern, rather. I really like the kid's game. He's tough, very efficient in limited action last season. He lost all of his starts, but what's the likelihood that Patty Fitz is going to have 3 crap seasons in a row, Eric? Just doesn't happen that often.
Not often.
So Sullivan's efficient, completing about 74% of his passes. Didn't average a lot of yards per game, but let's face it, last season Northwestern's offense was dog crap at best. So I feel he's got a lot of potential there. I've got him in at number 10.
All right, so I believe this is the quarterback. I think he's from the state of Michigan
Yes.
originally, is where he played high school ball in. This is Jason Monk's boy. Jason, who is someone who's done podcasting with us, a listener of ours and a fan of ours, and someone who participates on Facebook and things in the discussions. He has been tooting that boy's horn for many, many years. And he said Northwestern would play better with him in the lineup. And he was right. They did play better. They maybe scored an extra field goal a game, which was more than what they were scoring before he took over. However,
Right.
at number 10, I'm not going to argue with you there. I just don't know what Northwestern's got in the tank, man. So,
Well, like I said, I'm betting a little bit on Patty Fitz and yeah, putting a little bit of faith in Monk there at number 10 as well. So number 9, this is where we see some position I don't think. And as I said, I'm ranking what I believe to be the starting quarterbacks, Eric. Now, typically, I think we would see Dexter Williams the second at Indiana as the starting quarterback. He had that bad knee injury last season. I don't think he's going to start the season at quarterback. I've got Taven Jackson, the transfer from Tennessee. He was a highly touted recruit going into Tennessee. Did not see a lot of action, obviously, there with Hendon Hooker there. Completed 3 of his 4 passes attempted at Tennessee. Has some athleticism. He's going to need that to survive in Bloomington, I'm telling you. But I've got him in at number 9.
can you really put someone in the top 10 when they're going to be with playing for the worst team in the Big Ten?
Yes.
How? Do you think elevate that offense enough to not be the worst team in the Big Ten?
I don't know. I don't know, but I'm looking at the other. Now, again, if I were putting second string guys in here, I would probably have someone else who's a second string. But I look at the starting situation around the Big Ten, and it's so bad that I think he's a top 10 starter.
Uh, I'm going to disagree with you now and say he's not, but I will leave room for you to convince me that he can be. Let's see how he elevates Indiana. That we're going to get a firsthand experience week 1.
Yes.
So we'll see. We'll see if he's got anything, any explosiveness there, anything to surprise our defense with in that first game. All right, who's number 8 on your list?
For me, number 8, I've got Jeff Sims, the guy who's coming to Nebraska to keep the seat warm for Dylan Raiola. I mean, let's call it what it is. He's an experienced quarterback, played 3 seasons at Georgia Tech. Not a real efficient guy, only completing about 57.5% of the passes. He's got a 30 to 23 TD to interception ratio, which leaves a lot to be desired. He is a legitimate dual threat, though. He is athletic, can make plays with his legs, ran for 1,152 yards and 11 touchdowns with Georgia Tech. So he lacks consistency. Nebraska may not be the best situation for him to try to correct that part of the situation, especially given all the changes there. But you know what? I've got faith in Matt Rhule as a coach to get the most out of this kid. So I've got him in at number 8.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick. I that could be a situation where they have dual quarterbacks happening here under Matt Rule. I think he's willing to kind of throw things out there and see what sticks. First year back, he's got some leeway. They've given him some grace. They're not expecting him to compete for the West this year. Can he get them to a bowl game? Which quarterback's going to give me the best chance to win 6 games? And if he's the guy, if Sims is the guy, then he probably is going to be a top 10 quarterback in the Big Ten. Is he going to be top 5? I doubt it. I don't see what I've seen there is not going to,
Yeah,
I think, elevate him into the top 5. But is it good enough to get them 6 wins on their season? Maybe.
possibly.
Yeah. All right. Number what? 7. I think we're on number 7.
7. Yeah, 7. I've seen a lot of love given to this kid, but I don't have a lot of love for him, but I don't have a lot of hate for him either, Eric. And that's Drew Aller. I've got Aller in at 7 based on his potential. We saw some flashes that he showed in limited action last year. He does have a strong arm, good size, seems fairly proficient in reading and understanding defenses. High ceiling. I think we're going to see a pretty good Penn State team this year, and I think he's going to make a little bit of noise this season. But I haven't seen enough out of him to bring him any higher than 7.
So yeah, so this is interesting because there's a lot of national love for Drew Aller. He's an Ohio kid,
Yep,
was the top quarterback in the state of
Gainesville, right?
Ohio. Yep. We shunned him. He goes east to Pennsylvania, decides to go to Penn State. He immediately is elevated as the next starting quarterback when he was there last year as a freshman, and he's getting a lot of love. There's a lot of experts who in their quarterback rankings have him ahead of McCord. And I don't understand that one bit. I know
No.
he was good in high school. I know he was highly recruited, got a lot of stars, but let's back the train up. Our friend Ryan
All
over
these
at
guys were good in high school, Eric.
yeah, our friend Ryan over at Scarlet and Game thinks that Penn State's just an overrated program, and I'm it's hard for me to argue against that.
Yeah,
When was the last time Penn State really I mean, they've got up, snuck up, and got us once,
yeah.
but once in how many years, right? I mean, and then they're going to have to beat us in our house this year. I just don't see that happening. Um, can they take down the team up north in their home field on their home field and what'll be a whiteout? Their their numbers in whiteouts aren't that great actually.
No.
I know our friend Kevin Egan would probably disagree with us on this, but I'm with you. I think he's overrated. I really do. He's young.
Yes.
He's young. He's got little experience. Yes, I know he's got a high star kid, but let's see how he does first. When was the last time a Penn State quarterback really you were terrified of? You were really scared of?
Maybe Kerry Collins.
It's been a while. Okay?
Yeah.
Good point. It has been a long time. Let's see how this goes. Let's just not crown him a top 5 quarterback like all the national media is right now in the Big Ten. I'm with you. Good on you, Chris. Who's next? Number 6.
Number 6. Let's go over to Purdue and talk a little bit about Hudson Card. Card has a lot of potential. Again, lacks consistency though. 3 seasons in Texas, he did average 65.5% completion rating, which is very respectable. His best was last season when he saw the most playing time on the field. He was 69.4%, had 11 touchdowns and only two interceptions. Saw flashes, but there's still a lot of questions surrounding this guy. I mean, obviously, there's some reason that he lost out to Quinn Ewers, right? I mean, so I think he's got some potential. I've got him in at 6. I don't think he's a top 5 guy right now.
Chris, let's talk about a little bit about Ryan Walters and the change that's going to happen over at Purdue. We don't know how this is going to affect their offense. They've been a very pass happy
Mhm.
offense for a couple decades now, going all the way back to the 90s.
Yes.
And they were really the first Big Ten team to open it up and go 4 wide. They were the first. And they had to in order to compete with the powerhouses in the Big Ten. That's how they've done it. And they've done a great job of it. If there's one school that's been a thorn in our side more than any other, it's the Boilermakers,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I still have nightmares of that Saturday night game where
Yeah.
it was I think they just scored
Where
again
where
on
Cardell's
us.
where Cardell's arm about fell off there.
Yeah,
Yeah. What, 70 pass attempts, I think it was? It was
it
something
was not
obscene like that.
Cardale.
Or not
It,
Cardell, it was
Dwayne Haskins.
Dwayne Haskins, yeah.
Yeah, it was a record-breaking night for Ohio
Yeah,
State
70,
in
70
passing
pass attempts.
yards, and we still lost. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was terrible. But my point is this: let's see how this offense changes. I think 6 might be a little too high here. Now, if it's the same offense, I agree with you. If they're going to be pass happy, I agree with you. But let's see what kind of offense Walters brings to the table now that they've got a little bit of a different leadership there. All right, we're ready for the top 5. Go for it, my friend.
Well, I'll tell you, one of our old friends is in at top 5, and I think that he's going to do well basically because of his landing spot, and that's Cade McNamara at Iowa. The former team up north quarterback, he led him to a win over the Buckeyes, led him to a Big Ten title only 2 seasons ago. I think he's a huge upgrade over anything we've seen at Iowa recently at the starting quarterback position. I think he gives Iowa a legitimate shot to contend in the West. He's very efficient, 63.1% completion rating, not bad. 3-to-1 TD to interception ratio. That's not bad either. That's his career numbers. It's a run first offense, defense driven team. And I think McNamara is going to be asked to be efficient and manage games, which is a role that I think fits his skill set very well. So I've got him in at number 5.
Who's the offensive coordinator there?
I don't even like talking about the offensive coordinator there.
I'm sorry, man. You could have Peyton Manning, the quarterback in Iowa. I don't know these top 5. I mean, that offense is so inept, Chris.
Again,
It's so bad.
if I was putting second string guys in here, we would probably see the backup from several teams in here before some of these guys I've had in the bottom half of the top 10. I'm not going to lie to you.
You know
Again,
what? My stepson, who's could take a Madden playbook and go call an offense better than what Kirk Ferentz' son does, the offensive coordinator at
well,
Iowa.
I don't doubt that. But again, I think that this is a perfect landing spot for him because of what he's going to be asked to do at Iowa.
Let us know in the comments. Is Cade McNamara a top 5 quarterback in the Big Ten in Iowa? I want to hear what you all think right now. I say
Again, Eric,
no.
top 5 starting quarterback based on what we have in the conference right now.
Top 5 starting quarterback in the conference right now. Do you think Cade McNamara at Iowa is a top 5? If he's a top 5 quarterback in this conference right now, we bad. Big Ten, bad. Ryan Wickerham says no. Let's see if anybody's going to come to your defense on this one, Chris. Let's go to number 4 while they put comments in the comment section.
I really don't want to because the hate's going to come at me very fast right now, Eric.
Uh-oh.
Number 4, I've got Kyle McCord.
Uh-oh.
And honestly, based on what I saw at the spring game and what I've seen in the past, this is more about the weapons around him than it is McCord. McCord had a pedestrian spring game. Uh, come the season opener, he's going to have the best skill players in the nation around him.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you that right now. And that's going to elevate his game. And honestly, he should be a number 1. But based on what I've seen so far, I can't put him up that high, Eric. I just can't. Without a doubt, he has 2 of the top 5 receivers in the nation, including the best player in all of college football. He's got what, if healthy, is probably the best running back room top to bottom in the nation. And he's got great tight ends. The question of how successful McCord's going to be is going to be an issue with that offensive line. In McCord's only start last season, he did throw for 13 of 18, 319 yards, 2 touchdowns. But let's not get too excited. It was against Akron. you may be able to go out there and duplicate those numbers against Akron, Eric.
Can I mention something about Akron real fast?
Go ahead.
So my wife's nephew, so my nephew through marriage, um, he is going to be a senior next year here at Delaware Hayes High School, offensive tackle, being recruited by Akron. Hey, D1, baby.
It's D1. I mean, I'm not going to take anything away from it. It's D1. But
My wife's an alum, so she's hoping he goes to Akron. I'm hoping that the Toledo visit goes well, if you know what I mean.
oh wow. But yeah, I want to rank McCord higher, but I've got to see something to show it to me.
If McCord ends up at the end of the season being the fourth best quarterback in the Big Ten, something went seriously wrong.
You're absolutely right. You are absolutely right.
I'm not going to argue with you that he's number 4 now. Okay. He's got one start under his belt. He was a backup who got in at the end of games to hand the football off,
Yep.
which is something I've complained for the last 3 years about Ryan Day not preparing the backups by running the full playbook offense in the fourth quarter. It's not your job, Ryan, to be nice at the end of the game. Those days are long gone. It's all about style points and getting your team ready and prepared moving forward. And unfortunately, we are in the same boat we were in 2 years ago when CJ Stroud took over the helm and had thrown 0 passes as a collegiate quarterback going into that first game at Minnesota on the road. He had some growing pains to start off the season. I fully expect McCord to have some growing pains to start off the season.
Agreed.
And just like we go on the road at Minnesota 2 years ago, we're going on the road in Bloomington, Indiana. Again this year. Let's see how this goes. Then we have some cupcakes before we go on the road again up to Notre Dame to take on the Fighting Irish. And we will talk about Notre Dame here shortly. We got a great video to show all of you all in the second part of the
But
show.
let me say this, Eric. If I were ranking the top 2 quarterbacks, or if I was ranking, I shouldn't say the top 2. If I was ranking the quarterbacks, including backups, I think Devin Brown would have made the top 5 because that's how little faith I have in the rest of the Big Ten. He would be starting in any other program in the Big Ten except for
he'd be in the top 10 for me. I wouldn't have him in the top 5. But yeah, I would have several backups actually, probably in the top 10, at least 2. So I'm with you on that. All right. If Kyle McCord's number 4, that means we have 3 quarterbacks coming into this season that you have ranked higher than Kyle McCord. Number 3.
Number 3, you were talking about cupcakes. Let's talk about a guy who built his career on cupcakes, and that's that guy up north. And that's J.J. McCarthy. It's easy to say how proven J.J. McCarthy is based on the numbers. He led the team up north to a conference title last season, beat a badly outcoached Ohio State team in Columbus last season. That being said, the road to Columbus was perhaps the easiest in the conference. And when he was faced with another quality opponent in TCU, he kind of folded under the pressure a little bit. He showed some flashes, but his numbers are fairly pedestrian when you really look at him overall, Eric. I mean, 208 completions, a 63.6 completion percentage, not bad, but not great. Only 2,719 yards as a starter with 22 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. Now, keep in mind, this is in Harbaugh's offense where he's not really being asked to win games, just more so not to lose games. But, I have to give him the nod. He's got more experience. He's got bigger wins than what Kyle McCord does, obviously, based on that experience time. And his numbers aren't terrible. So I went McCarthy at number 3.
All right. So the last memory I have of J.J. McCarthy is him throwing another pick 6 and his dad inappropriately touching his girlfriend on the Jumbotron. Unfortunately. Look it up if you don't know what I'm talking about. So, J.J. McCarthy is overrated. Overrated. That I know he got the W on us that day. I know he did. That had more to do with poor defensive play on our part than it did J.J. McCarthy beating us. So if we could go in there with a better defensive plan this year, I think McCord can supplant him. I absolutely do.
Oh, I agree.
Here's the thing. You go back to the recruiting wars 3 years ago. Ryan Day handpicked Kyle McCord over J.J. McCarthy. McCarthy wanted to be a Buckeye, and he chose McCord. McCarthy said, fine, I'm going to go to your rival. And so far, McCarthy has played his cards better. But let's see what happens now that these two finally can go head to head. He says, Facebook users agree his success will go with on how the O line plays, but with the weapons he has, talking about McCord, they definitely will help him grow throughout the season until the O line comes together. I like where Chris ranked him right now. So you've got some help there. You got some agrees. Justin Bowman, he agrees with you. McCarthy is a good athlete, but is overrated as a QB. He agreed with me on that one. Number 2, Chris. That's two of the top 2 Big Ten quarterbacks this year going into the season.
So I'm going to surprise some people here. I've got a transfer kind of coming in, and is currently my number 2 to start the conference season as well. And that's up in Wisconsin, where Tanner Mordecai is coming in. Tanner Mordecai spent 3 seasons backing up Heisman contenders and winners at Oklahoma under Lincoln Riley. Mordecai transferred to SMU in 2021, and he's been tearing up the American Conference down there. He's passed for at least 3,500 yards each of the last 2 seasons, 66.4 completion percentage, 72 touchdowns versus 22 interceptions. Something I feel that interception number might be a little high, but excuse me, I feel like in Fickell's offense and the way Fickell runs the game, I think that the experience of the quarterback, I think it's going to be built for him to thrive. And I think Fickell is going to put him in a position to give this team a real shot at winning the Big Ten West this year.
3,500 yards passing, 33 touchdowns, which I think was 8th best in the nation last year. SMU is a pass-happy offense. They had a terrible defense. They took the Ryan Day approach. Let's just score more than the opponent, and that's how we're going to win. I think Wisconsin obviously is a much better, more sound defense than what he had at SMU, but he's also going to be going up against some very good defenses in the Big Ten that he did not have to face when he was at SMU. I don't think he's going to be overwhelmed by that. He does have the experience as a backup at Oklahoma, like you said. So the bright lights, the big stage is not going to overwhelm him. I think Wisconsin is the team of the West. Mark it down. I think they win the West this year, and Luke Fickell's first year at the helm for the Badgers. I think he will be the Big Ten Coach of the Year in 2023, which it's always given to the coach who kind of over exceeds more than the expectations. It's not always given to the top coach as far as wins is concerned. So given that criteria, I'm with you. This is a top 3 guy in the Big Ten. I don't know if I'd have him at number 2, but that means who you have at number 1 is the same guy who I think is the best quarterback in the Big Ten this year. Chris, tell everybody about it.
Yeah, I think we got to go to Maryland and go to Taulia Tagovailoa. I mean, he's the most tenured quarterback in the Big Ten. He's Maryland's all-time leader in passing yards with 7,879 yards, completions with 665, completion percentage with a 67.4%. I think he leads in passing touchdowns, 300 yards passing games, total offense. Yeah, he had a slight down year by his standards last year, but he was still better than a lot of the quarterbacks out there. He's, I think, the most accomplished and best quarterback to never win this conference. And he plays in arguably the toughest division in college football, being the Big Ten East. I think he's a tremendous talent, and I think right now, going into the season, he is the best quarterback in the Big Ten.
All right, folks, put it down in the comment section. Do you agree with Chris? Is it Taulia? Is he number 1, the best Big Ten quarterback going into 2023 season? You have 1 vote for me, Chris. I agree with you. I am always impressed. I've always been impressed with Taulia. He's a gamer. He's got a little bit of Tua in him. Things didn't work out for him in Alabama. I guarantee you right now, Nick Saban wishes he had Talia as his quarterback right now. The quarterback situation in Tuscaloosa, Alabama right now is not good. And Talia would be the starter at Alabama if he would have stuck around. But he came to Maryland where they don't have a good defense. They've got a lot of offensive weapons. You saw some of them get drafted in the NFL draft this past year.
Yeah.
They just don't have a good defense. He will, I'm telling you, last year they had that team up north on the ropes. You and I, we were listening to that game on our way to Pittsburgh. We saw the highlights. They should have won that game. You know, I think
2 years ago they took down Penn State.
Yes. Yep. They beat Penn State. That is a game. Circle it on your calendars. That's not going to be an easy game for the Buckeyes. We're going to have to outscore them. Now, a lot of it depends on his health. When he went down and got hurt, the team went down. Maryland did.
Yes.
So you're getting a lot of agrees. So again, this is not a normal year for quarterbacks in the Big Ten, Chris.
No.
This is not a great list. And so with that being said, I'm wondering if McCord by the end of the season can't be number one.
He should be. Given the weapons he has around him, he should be. I don't know how he's not. I mean, by the end of this season, if you have the best player in college football at one receiver, you've got a top 5 receiver at the other receiver, you've got all this talent that can fill in, back up, play the slots. You've got, again, the best running back room, I think, top to bottom in the nation if they're healthy. If the offensive line is solid, this offense should be explosive.
Yeah, Hummus here. Welcome to the show. This is the first time I've seen you make a comment on our show, my friend. Thanks for stopping in. I think Talia is the best returning quarterback, but whoever wins the Buckeye job, McCarthy or Aller, have the potential to be the best. Very honest, open comment there, actually adding some of those other names. I agree. Donald Hoffer II says the Illinois-Wisconsin game could be interesting for the West. It could. Here's the thing. I think Wisconsin's quarterback situation is light years better than what Illinois has at quarterback. But they have got good defense, good depth. How many guys did Illinois have in the first couple rounds? Like 3 or 4 players go in the first 3 rounds. It was a really good draft for Illinois.
Their corner, top 5, I think.
Yeah, he was like, I think he was
Detroit, right?
I think he was a second or third Big Ten player off the board there. Ouch! I need some happy thoughts. Can we count on Ryan Day to mold these young Buckeyes? Yes, Larry. Good point. If you're going to give a young quarterback to a coach to mold, we have the perfect coach for that.
There's 2 in the country. One in the Midwest, and the other's out in California. Those are the 2 guys that you want developing quarterbacks. That's it.
Yeah. Ryan Day has taken under his wing Dwayne Haskins. He was really the first one. Yes, he was the offensive coordinator when JT Barrett was here, but we were still running Urban Meyer's offense. Okay. So we can't really count them to that. Dwayne Haskins was the first one he developed. I'd say that went pretty well. Right? Justin Fields steps in. 2 years, I'd say that went pretty well. Right? CJ Stroud steps in. You know, what's all 3 of these guys have in common? They're all first-round draft picks in the NFL.
Yeah.
All right? That track record is there. And so whoever he chooses, whether it be Brown or McCord, I'm leaning to McCord getting the first shot. Whoever that guy is, that guy's going to be pretty good, Larry. You got to feel like that. I agree with you. So let's keep the optimism and the positivity flowing and keep that going.